Bit late today, guys. We had a special meeting. All set? Okay, I want to welcome everybody to the Bruce Township Board of Trustees meeting for December 21st, 2022. Get a roll call, please.
Here.
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 Here. Stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll get going and get through this pretty quick. I think everybody's probably here for 156 West Gates. Is there anybody here that's not here for 156 West Gates? Any other subjects? Oh. Paul, you're not? Oh,
Well, I'm going to comment on it.
yeah. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the agenda? Is there any additions or deletions they want to make at this time?
I have a correction to the minutes from November 16th. Page 3. The Kipper SLU. Fourth line says motion by Tremblay, supported by Philbrook to approve the Kipper SLU as presented. I think it should be per the recommendation and conditions provided by the Planning Commission.
Noted. Anybody else?
You want to take M off, right?
Yeah, I guess we can move item 7M. We're going to take the whole section out. Move all items off of 7M. It should be 7M, I, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Also want to add the Romeo schools.
Yeah.
How about replace them with Romeo
There
Schools?
you go.
Tax collection, yeah, mix it in with Armada.
I'll do it with my Armada, you said?
Armada and MCC, Macomb County Community College.
So can we put it as S and then we can bring it up under, at the time of, we discuss J and K?
Yeah, we can all three of them at once, so they're all the same thing.
Anybody else have any additions or deletions? Everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes from both the special board meeting November 30th and also for the regular meeting November 16th. Looked at the accounts payable. No other discussion. I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
Second by DeGiorgio. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to, this is a time when we go to comments on the floor. We would like that you would keep your comments to limited to 3 minutes. There is one representative that wants to speak on behalf of the one, like Deer Park condominiums. Then if they're going to speak on behalf of everybody, then they would be given a little bit more time. But any other resident wants to speak, that we would like to keep it down to 3 minutes. Frank, do you want to keep time? Or you want me to? Frank can keep time and let you know when it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds are up. And, so who would like to start? Paul?
Paul Kaniewski, last year Bruce Township. My credentials are 20 years on the Planning Commission for Bruce Township, 10 years as a trustee on the board. We voted to deny that rezoning at 156 starting about 5 years ago. And up to this point, the developer has yet never showed that he can't develop under the current zoning, nor that it's a hardship for him to do so. And that's key. I mean, the Planning Commission recommended to you to deny. You should deny. Anybody that doesn't deny off this board should resign. because that is not the proper place. You've taken an oath to uphold the rural atmosphere of our township, and that includes the historic village area. That is imperative as a board. That developer is not going to live there when he's done doing what he's doing. He doesn't have to deal with the aftermath. So I'm making a big recommendation to this board to deny that rezoning and send him back to the board to develop it as it's currently zoned. There's absolutely no reason for him to get an approval on what he's proposing, especially when you're going to tear down the historic home there. He had tenants in that home that wanted to buy the property and keep it as is, and he turned them down. I don't know if you're aware of that. Okay, so it could have stayed as it was, or it is right now. All right, and he could have made money just on the resale. So you guys need to keep that in mind. You uphold an oath to keep us rural and to keep the historic part of the village as it is.
Thanks, Paul. Anne Marie?
My name is Anne Marie Boyce. I live at 70170 Whitetail Lane, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Deer Park Association. Includes 20 homes. I believe there's 10, I think, here today, so I'm respectfully requesting an additional 2 minutes.
Got it, Anne Marie.
Thank you. Of the dozens of community members who have spoken and signed petitions over a 4.5-year period, uniformly opposing rezoning of condos for development at 156 West Gates by Tom Sirakoff, only Deer Park Association has expressed open-mindedness. Assuming certain conditions we presented at the May PC meeting are met. As of today, our requirements are still not met. As such, we oppose the conditional rezoning request before you this evening. At the last PC meeting, I explained the many reasons for our position, in part including, number one, the proposed condo development is a full 18% denser than Deer Park, which is the 35-year-old standard Mr. Sirakoff claims he is following. Two, the proposal also includes a split and creation of a single-family lot for some future R1B-sized house to be built. This is contrary to the bill of goods sold by Mr. Sirakoff that condos will have fewer negative impacts than single-family homes. Also not met is our stated need for a bond or monies to be held in escrow by the developer, not the future association, in an amount sufficient to replace or repair our well water system, which is a regulated public water supply the same as Bruce Township's own water system. The PC correctly recognized the issue with Mr. Sirakoff's condition related to an age-restricted 55-plus senior development. The current and perhaps long-term lack of sanitary sewer capacity to serve the development, as well as the fatal faults with his promise to just, quote, create his own community well system, end quote, if an agreement cannot be reached with the Village of Romeo to access its water. I'd like to clarify some misstatements about the density issue that continue to be made by the developer. This information is readily available by review of our old Township Board and PC minutes, as well as old zoning maps, which I took the opportunity to do. Lot 20, which presently includes Deer Park and the Macomb Family Services parcel, were rezoned from residential one family to residential multiple family in 1978. The underlying reasons are reflected in the records and was common knowledge at the time to anybody who lived here. No development took place on the property at all until 9 years later, at which time the property was sold. The rear 5.9 acres became Deer Park, and the front 2 acres was resold and rezoned to office at that property owner's request. The Deer Park developer never requested a rezoning of any property on Gate Street, and he was not approved for a total of 24 units on his 5.9 acres. His initial site plan submitted to the PC in 1987 was for 24 units, but it did not receive the required final approval from the engineer and the planner because within 2 months, Romeo denied the request to provide village water to Deer Park. A community well system was then constructed, including the statutory minimum 100-foot radius isolation zone around the wellheads. The final site survey and utility plans filed with the Deer Park Master Deed on 9/28/1988 clearly show 5 buildings, 20 units. The Master Deed conversion provision was for the Deer Park developer only to add a 6th building if municipal water became available on or before 9/23/1994. As the Deer Park attorney advised the PC in September, under the Master Deed and state law, any future addition opportunity died in September of 1994, and it should not be considered as part of Mr. Sirakoff's current request 30 years after that expiration. Under the same Master Deed provision, our association, the current Deer Park Association, absolutely does not have a right to add a 6th building should municipal water become available. That's precluded by a binding legal document. Bottom line, Mr. Sirakoff's current development proposal is 18% denser than Deer Park. I'd like to sum up by saying the proposal before you is contrary to the master plan and the plan zoning map in place for decades, which reflects no more multifamily development in this tightly confined area of the township.
30 seconds.
The proposal has multiple problems, and the PC was recently presented within the last year 2 additional proposals for condos and in the same, like half-a-mile radius. I know you all remember the commitment you made when you were elected, and Deer Park respectfully requests that you deny the conditional rezoning for 156 West Gates, and that you please honor your commitment to the people who elected you to protect Bruce Township's direction of proud heritage planned future. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne Marie. Oh, Don.
How you doing? My name is Don Stone. I live at 170 West Gates, and I too wish that you will consider what the Planning Commission has put forward to turn down this rezoning. I have always maintained that we have a traffic problem on West Gates because it's a connector between north and southbound Van Dyke, and we have people coming from all different directions that have to come through there. Adding 19 more residents in that short strip of West Gates is very dangerous, and, you know, there's children living in the area, there's all kinds of construction vehicles, emergency vehicles, school buses, everything traveling through there. And I too oppose the rezoning of 156 West Gates. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Anybody else?
My name's Michael Kerner. I live at 157 West Gates. I also oppose the rezoning, and I'm not sure if I'm able to. My neighbor couldn't make it behind me on 158 Turner Street, Eric Stevenson. He also wanted me to express that he opposes as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. Justin, how are you?
Good, how you doing, sir? Justin Barker, Village Romeo trustee. I'm here on behalf of several of the residents in the village that live on this side and the Bruce side. Everyone I've talked to is opposed to the rezoning of this. They don't like the traffic concerns, and that's where we're at. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
My name is Kendall Wilkinson. I'm at 163 Westgate Street, directly across the street from 156. I'm opposed of the construction of new buildings there. If it's too dangerous for buses to stop and pick up my children for school, it's probably too dangerous to have more traffic there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Regarding 156 Westgate? No? Just for the record, we did receive a letter from Sosny Gardner. I'm not going to read it, but she was opposed to it also. Okay. Moving on. So we'll close open our public hearing session. Is there any, I guess we hear from the developers. So.
I'm going to come up here as the owner of 156 Westgate Street. I'm a resident of Bruce Township, and I am also the current proposed rezoning participant for the Villages of Romeo LLC.
Can you give your name and your address, Tom, just for...
Tom Surkoff, 72571 Sorrel, Bruce Township, 48065. Beyond frustrated. I've been here for 5 years. Everyone knows we've come up here with multiple plans. Backflips, standing on one leg, everything we can do to try and please the residents, the board, the changes. Most of the things don't have anything to do with rezoning. When I purchased this property, it was sold to me as an extension of Deer Park Condos future development by the Peaches. I've heard that they said they would roll over in their grave if they heard that, but that's what was sold to me, and you can go back and check that. It's on record. I wasn't in the development business. I'm in another business. I never thought I would be here 5 years later, in front of you again with all this kind of animosity towards me, and I don't know half of these folks. A couple other things. The property is in the central planning district. It's also in the sewer district. And I just want to read a quick caption from the master plan from Bruce Township. The central planning area contains the majority of the township's commercial, industrial, mid to higher density residential designations. The predominant residential zones in this area include R1B, one family, RM1, multifamily, and MHP mobile homes. This is in section 7.1 of the master plan. The area is also serviced by the township's limited sewer capacity via the mutual operating agreement with the Village of Romeo. This area of the township also has municipal water service and additional capacity may be allocated within an industrial district as such developments occur. Skip down to the next paragraph. Vacant lots in the central planning district where I'm at should be primary location for more intensive land uses proposed for the township, since this area has the capacity to sustain some more moderate to higher density developments. That's right from the master plan. The definition of multifamily residential in the master plan. Multiple family units occupy approximately 40 acres of land within the township. Most of the acreage is made up of two-family dwellings. Several small multiple family complexes exist on Gates and McVicker roads. I don't know what else would say that this shouldn't be rezoned other than the abutting property was already planned for phase 2. The sewer system's there. RM3, the hotel and back. If you look on Kading, that's R1C. I mean, it doesn't even make sense why we're still here at this point with a denial from the Planning Commission when everything reads in the master plan that it should be that. I'm going to let Mr. Torres speak on a couple of the comments from the Planning Commission. Merry Christmas to everybody and happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
So as a developer, Michael Torres, 5865 Jacqueline Court, Washington Township. But as a developer for 25 years now, I've been in front of many planning commissions, boards, worked with many work sessions, and I don't ever support a project that I don't believe in or believe there's a fair chance of getting approved. So that's why I'm here to help Tom. And Tom has not paid me $1. It's more principle at this point to try to get something done for the guy, because I really think that he's not being treated fairly. I believe that his property sits at a perfect location for higher density. We are abutting a downtown Romeo, which typically in most developments, if you look across Michigan, your higher density projects always come from a town center or a downtown district. And as they go further away from that district, the lots usually get bigger, which in Bruce Township, the further north you get, there's plenty of 1 acre lots, 2 acre lots opportunities. There's a sewer district here. Because of the sewer district, it already promotes a higher density, because if it didn't, you could be able to put a double septic system, a backup field that would give them opportunities to put in larger lots. So at this point, what I'd like to do is comment on the motion to deny from the Planning Commission, each and every one of the items that were read, because I believe that they do not have anything to do with the denial and should be vacated as your decision process in tonight's decision. So the first one is they talk about the request for rezoning for R1B or RM1 was originally denied by the Board of Trustees November of 2019, and they're talking about a zoning change of a 2-level jump. We disagree with this because, number one, this area, there is no R1B in this area, none. Not one home or property adjacent to Tom's property meets an R1B zoning currently. They don't even meet R1C. You have R1, RML, and RM1 and RM3 touching his property. When you rezone a piece of property in the township under the Equal Protection Act, which is clearly stated and defended in the Supreme Court of Michigan, you give the right to the neighboring property to have the same. He must be treated exactly the same. So we're here to defend his right after this township, not this board, but this township already rezoned a piece of property adjacent to him for exactly what he has. I want to address the comments from the Deer Park representative when it comes to the amount of density. That project was approved for 24 units. It's in your documentation. Whether they build 24 units because they put in a well water system isn't the problem. You could take a look at the master plan, the master deed. The developer only had 7 years to develop those lots and stay with the project. And that's typical. Most of the developments we do, we stay in for so long, make sure the project gets a majority going because we fund all the differences. At that point, the project carries itself and we hand it over to the people. That's exactly what he did. He gave up the right to build those additional 4 units. The project, unless you change the master deed, the project still has the right because it runs with the title, typical in Michigan, the Michigan Act. So we're comparing the zoning. His density is less than Deer Park's density based on the 24-unit approval of Deer Park, and it's in your records. Let's discuss the claim that we jumped 2 levels. We're not R1B. We believe that when the changeover took place from R120, R160, whatever it was, we can't find any documentation in the city who did it, where the process was, what the logic was, what the discussion was. Someone just said, this is R1B. Under the Michigan statute and rezoning act, the existing zoning is labeled in master plan under existing and then future master. The existing was not R1B, so whoever put R1B in there was way off. So we disagree with the two zone jump. We think we're in line with R11. Let's say it's R1C, we'll take the 1 zone jump. We'll agree with that. In terms of the parcel to be split, we kept the front lot because we thought that the continuity of homes along both sides of Gates would look nicer because there's already homes still on Gates. We can go either way. We can add 2 more units for the size of the lot, or we can build a home. But the home is not a historical home like someone commented tonight. There's no historic addition or registration on that home. And the gentleman that says he would buy the home, he hasn't made his last 12 payments of rent. So how is he going to go buy a home that he can't even qualify to even pay rent? So that's unfair to make those statements. I think a lot of comments are not backed up by facts. In terms of the sewer, I don't know how the township, how the ordinance works with sewer availability, first come, first serve, or do we pick and choose who gets it, who doesn't get it by drawing a name out of a hat? But he's ready to go. There's capacity right now. he's here. I've heard that people are able to buy capacity. I don't know how that works. And I don't know what the laws or the ordinances that govern this township on who gets sewer, who doesn't get sewer, and what the original allocation was for, and how it gets distributed in the sewer district itself. Obviously, you created a sewer district to allow sewer. So there's projects out there that are getting extensions outside the district, and you're trading sewer capacity from one zone to the next. I know in Shelby Township, that's not allowed. We're not allowed to trade sewer capacity. You stay within the district. If that maximization ends at that district, it ends. So we would like to look a little further into that because there's no documentation for that as well. Many of the comments that Deer Park, which is predominant in the negativity to this project, have nothing to do with the zoning. We've talked about water discharge, we've talked about well water, we've talked about wells going dry, we've talked about bonding. You can't make a guy like this to bond his project when not one developer in this township was forced to bond. You can't pick and choose the winners and the losers. It's against the law. And he has the right to develop his property, he has the right to the water under the ground. Again, plenty of case law in Michigan will prove that right. So we're here to argue what is fact. If you deny this project based on zoning two-level jumps, we're going to argue the fact that it's not a two-level jump, because existing zoning, there's nothing I want to be there. And I think the courts are going to agree with us. Secondly, this is a good opportunity for all of us to control the project without having no control. We've all talked about this. We don't want to litigate. We litigate that we have to go spend more money in court. You spend more money in court. The court's going to make us settle. That's what usually happens. And if you look at your past history of what you've done in your consent judgments, have you ever won? Probably not. You've probably given up something. This is a great opportunity to control the project. 18 units of condos. We know for a fact, even through your planner, Mr. Tangori, that zoning under condos is a less dense project. With the buses, they don't have the ability to bring a bus in there. They never put a court in there. We have the road built to the Macomb County standards to bring a bus in so the kids can safely get on that bus and come off if they live in that project. So again, there's a lot of facts that came up to try to knock the project down, have nothing to do with rezoning. These are all engineering questions that all get resolved down the road. Them telling me there's no capacity, you can't develop it. There's no water capacity, you can't. Listen, I can get my zoning and sit on that property for 25 years if I want to. This is a rezoning issue, not a functional engineering design issue. That comes later. And if there's no water at the time, I'll use wells. They go, there's no room for the wells. You need 200 feet. Okay, I'll buy the property next door and I'll put a well. So there's a lot of ways I can get this project done.
You're not going to buy the property.
You guys are all, listen.
All right, let's stay on the meeting.
Okay, listen. I'm trying to address all their issues. So all I want to say is this, guys. Tom has come back 5 times. He's changed this project 5 times. We've all tried to work with the Planning Commission work session meetings. Every time we sat down, we made changes to get to the finish line. And we don't want to spend extra money. I know the townships want to spend extra money. I think having control of a project is best for the township because we think we have a very strong case that will eventually give us more than what we asked for today. So we're asking you to reconsider and look beyond what the recommendation of the Planning Commission. You have two new members on the Planning Commission. It was kind of unfair for them to be here to vote. They didn't know nothing of the history, what happened. So I really think that you guys have been here for a long time. You've heard a lot of the meetings. I'm sure you watched them on TV. And we believe that because of the density, because of the master plan that we follow, and because of the low density we offer, because under RM1 you can get quite a bit more. We're not asking for that. I really think that that we want to put this to bed and have a good project for everyone that you control based on the offered conditions. So I thank you for time. If you have any questions for me, I can try to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Torres.
Mike, I need to correct the gentleman on a couple things. First of all, in my 20 years on the Planning Commission, we have never, ever approved a 2-level jump in zoning. And we fought it and have won. All right, he comes up here bullying the township board to get his way, and your first responsibility is to the people in this community, not to his pocketbook. The gentleman that bought the property knew what the zoning was at the time he bought the property. Okay, now he's trying to change it to benefit himself. He could sell it as is. He can build on it. Not one thing have they said why they cannot build it at the current zoning. They haven't said one thing, and that's a part of the denial. The very first thing that the developer has to do is show that it's a hardship for them to try to build at the current level. They could put single-family homes back there, all right? But for him to come up here and state all kinds of statutes and everything and try to bully the board, you can see that it's for his own self-interest and not for the community. Because if it was for the community, he'd be working with you to come to a common solution. All right? But never, in my 20 years on the Planning Commission, did we ever go a two-level jump, and Mike's aware of that, too.
Thank you.
I would like to speak first. Quick comment. Because there was some untruths told.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Stone, we'll give you another chance.
The 20 years he's been here to rezone obviously was after the rezoning happened. The property at Deer Park was exactly the same zoning of this property. The day you change the zoning, you give him, through the equal protection right, the same reasons to rezone. So that's not a correct statement. As for a hardship, the lots at 100 by 200, 20,000 square feet, he's got to make the lot 160 feet wide to get an R1B lot. I want to see who's going to pay $110,000 in development costs, plus the land, to buy that lot and put a house on there today. Never going to happen, because no one's going to buy a house for $650,000 next to a condo for $350,000. It's not going to happen. So there's a clear hardship here caused by the redevelopment, rezoning of that project. And it's all funny that we have everyone in this room against this project all live in a multifamily project and doesn't want a multifamily project next to them. Real great. And I've never bullied anybody. I make my points. Never bullied anybody, unless if anyone thinks I'm bullying them, I'm not bullying them. I'm stating the facts.
Okay.
And I think the decisions made are based on the facts.
All right, thank you, Mr. George.
I don't want to labor this any longer than I have to. I just want to make 2 points because there was some untruths just told. Number one, I've been in touch with the Peaches almost all my life, and I'm still in touch with them. When he bought that property and he first tried to rezone it, they were so upset that they offered him his money back. I was right there, I witnessed it, and it was right outside this building. The other thing is the gentleman that lived there failed to pay rent because he wouldn't fix the furnace. All winter long, they had no heat over there. And so his lawyer told him to not pay him. I gave him heaters, electric heaters to plug in so they could live in 2 or 3 rooms in that house. He wanted to buy that house. He would not sell it to him. He's always wanted to tear the house down, and the furnace still don't work. And that is the truth.
Hey, we're not going to go back and
Okay,
forth.
well, I'm going to say this. So the renters there were supposed to be kicked out on July 1st of last year. They were on a month-to-month lease. They stopped paying?
Because we're
No.
getting off track.
I agree, but this is ridiculous.
It's not about a landlord-tenant dispute
Yeah.
at all. We're here.
They haven't paid, and they were supposed to leave in August.
Okay.
That's when the sun was out, so they didn't need heat.
We're not, if this is, the next comment, if it's going to be a derogatory comment, or if it's going to be, we're focused on the subject at hand, and that's development of 156 Westgate. So,
Doug Peoples, 11820 Kading. All of our houses on Kading are R1B, and they border his property.
thank you. Thanks for everybody's comments and time. Appreciate it. I'm going to turn it over to Mike Tremblay. He's on the Planning Commission. He's the liaison between the Planning Commission and the board. He's had the most experience, obviously, with this because he's been there since day one. Mike, you want to go ahead and... What do we got?
Hearings and reviews.
Sorry. Lost my agenda. So we're going to close out public comment at this time. So we have to go ahead and call up the next one.
Mike.
So we have no hearings and reviews, so we're going to jump down on unfinished business, no unfinished business. So we'll start with new business. Item 7A would be 156 Westgate. Again, I'll turn it over to Mike Tremblay, the liaison between the board, Planning Commission and board. Like said,
Okay, just for some background for the board and refresh some of your memories, I'm just going to go through a little bit. Since 2018, the applicant has been either to the Planning Commission board 14 times. Originally in 2018-19, the rezoning request was a two-zoning zone. Paul, you were on the planning commission at that point in time. And it was denied for a variety of reasons. It was not a conditional zoning. To the applicant's credit, he came forward late last year, 2021, I think it was November, and came back with some conditional zoning. And to his credit, he was trying to make it work in the condo development. Everybody in the community was against it. One community was the Deer Park committee was willing to entertain, provided certain conditions were met. The developer has fallen short on the conditions required for the one resident to make it. The argument that RM1 right next to them gives them a right to be RM1, well, if you use that argument, then you might as well catapult that logic all the way around that curve, all the way up to the shopping center. So you can imagine RM1 all around that corner. That logic doesn't fit. The zoning to the north of their proposed development is R1B. To the east is RM1, that's Deer Park. To the south is the Village of Romeo. Those are all single-family homes, no multifamily homes. And to the west is a mix of single-family homes, and there's a small apartment complex as you go around the corner there, south of Sheena's. Yeah. So we've tried to work to get to some conditions that might work. When it came to the board last time, I think it was in May or something, the developer had offered to change some additional conditions. We pushed it back to the planning commission. The planning commission had we had some work group sessions, we had some meetings, and finally we decided in the December meeting that, or wait a minute, in the August or September, the developer was willing to change some additional conditions. He was going to come back in 30 days. He didn't come back in 30 days, didn't come back in October. Finally, we made a motion that we would decide, make a recommendation to the board in December, with or without new conditions from the applicant. The applicant did come in with new conditions. In the planning commission's opinion, they didn't go far enough to justify a two-level zoning. So the developer did, all of you did receive an email from the developer with some arguments against each of the points of the motion to deny. 1A, he makes an argument that this is challenging the current R1B zoning. Most of the homes in this area were built in the 50s or earlier. So it's an established thing. It's an established neighborhoods, houses. It's not like this vacant land ready to be developed. So we don't agree with his argument there. The second one, under has shown that the property cannot be developed as currently zoned. The applicant purchased the property the way it is. And we can argue whether someone told him or misinformed him. We've already heard arguments. One neighbor knows the people that and said that's not true, that they were told that this was going to be an extension of Deer Park or an extension of the condominium association. To me, it's not relevant. The applicant truly has not shown that it cannot be developed that zone. Number 2, approval is two-level zone and density is inconsistent with the Bruce Hauser master plan and could set precedent. One of the quotes that they use coming out of our master plan refers to vacant lots. This isn't a vacant lot, so it's a not relevant argument. With vacant lots, it's a different story. And if it's a vacant lot in our industrial district that has both sewer and water, that was a consideration in our master plan. We redid the master plan probably about 6 years ago. We just recently reaffirmed it, and the board approved the reaffirmation because we agreed with the master plan. So that's not a valid argument. The next one is condition 1, 18% higher density. I did look at that. The approved number of units was 20. There was an option for the developer to use, if he wanted to add an additional 4 units if municipal water was made available. That was 34 years ago. That developer right expired in 1994. So that's an irrelevant argument. Requiring a parcel split for a single family, when we had work group meetings, we talked about just making this a condominium development only. I think the applicant, in order to make it more economical, wanted to keep a house there and 18 units, so it was inconsistent with the work group discussions. Approval of conditional zoning would grant a special benefit to the property owner, not granted to others. It would, by granting a two-level zoning change from this current R1B to R1, grants a privilege that hasn't been granted for other people in that area, so it does. The surrounding property are primarily zoned single-family R1D, single-family residential to the north and west. There is some validity that not all of these properties will fit the R1B designation, but these properties were all built in the 50s or earlier, so that type of argument really is not valid. The next one, we'll use Bruce Township sanitary sewer. We all know we don't have any extra capacity. We have capacity to serve that home perhaps, but not to serve an additional 18 units that would use on average 300 gallons a day. We don't have that. I think what we have unallocated is about 1,000 gallons a day, Mike? Something like that.
No, we're only allowed, well, yeah.
I mean,
maybe
for
200,000.
what we have currently mapped out. I know
We're
we're
averaging
not currently
300,
using it.
yeah, 300, we got 210 allowed actually.
Yeah. So if Bruce can't obtain additional sewer capacity, we wouldn't be able to service them anyway. So that's something that's still being worked on. I've been working on it for 2 years. The next one is application number 8 regarding water service. It says water availability rights of wells that are not part of the rezoning request. Well, that's true, but if the applicant has to put in a community well, there is an isolation zone requirement for community wells. And I think it's like 200 feet radius. It can be reduced, but it would also occupy some space. In the condition, it didn't state what the applicant would do in the event that there would be a sewer capacity. In other words, what does it do to the number of units? So it leaves an unknown. So that was a risk to the township to accept that condition. Applicants number 8B, dedicated reserve fund. There's some concerns from some of the existing property owners about what the impact might be to surrounding wells. It is not unheard of for people to have an agreement to protect surrounding wells, contrary to what the developer stated, because we had that with the development in our township, where we required a bond. We didn't get the bond, but we got some alternative language, which was suitable to the surrounding representatives for the surrounding area. In this particular case, similar language is not suitable for some of the surrounding areas because it doesn't leave any money up front. It accumulates value through a HOA fee, so to speak. So there's nothing up front that if the wells were impacted early in development, there wouldn't be any money to help any of the people that might have water problems. Condition number 9, the project will be developed as an age-restricted 55-plus community. That's a great step, but one of the factors weighing in on the Planning Commission was the impact of traffic. So you want to look at what's the makeup of that area, and developing it as a 55-plus community is a step in the right direction. However, there was nothing in there to give the township like a first right of refusal, nothing written into the bylaws or the deed that would restrict this on an ongoing basis to a 55 community. So it could be developed as such, changed later, and then you lose the assumption that you've got older people living here, perhaps maybe only 2 residents per condo. So we rejected that one. And the last one, the Development Commission preserved trees along the property line with Deer Park. It removed a condition. The applicant in the response said that they would add that condition, but that's a change to a condition that was presented to the Planning Commission. So based on all that, I would ask if the board has any questions of me.
Have we gotten an opinion from our attorney on this?
With respect to what?
All of this. If we end up in court, what are our chances?
We have not. We have not reviewed this with an attorney.
Well, we've heard from Twinbrook, or Condo's attorney, right? They got an attorney?
They got an attorney on certain aspects of this, like with respect to, did Deer Park have an original approval for 24 units? Their attorney said no, it was only approved for 20. I looked at the same contract They were approved for 20. There was an option for the developer to add 4 more units of municipal water. That right has expired. What you have is you have a 20-unit development right there. So what's being proposed is 18% more dense than Deer Park. So the density issue is still an issue.
Personally, I'd like to see an opinion from our attorney on this. I mean, I'm sure they've dealt with this kind of stuff before on the court.
Anybody else have any questions for Mike?
So with that, I'll make a motion that the Board of Trustees deny the motion to rezone 156 West Gates to RM1 from R1B based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Support by Kraft. Is there any other discussion? I'd like to make a comment. I haven't been involved in this, but I've been following it all along, obviously, since I've been here. I don't know all the history on it. I know the developer's been trying to do the best he can, is trying to make things work. I know there's been issues. But at the same time, I know the homeowners in Deer Park have asked for one thing, take the house down, leave the house up. It's been very indecisive. The water situation, the flooding, high water table, I mean, a lot of issues. And I know the main word was that they basically don't want to see it get developed. They'd rather see it a park. The developer, the property owner does have the right to develop his property. Currently, the way it's zoned, which is what we need to go by, our master plan is just a guideline, so we don't have to go by the master plan. We use our current zoning to make our decisions on. That's what we base our decisions on. Currently, the way that property is currently zoned, it is zoned R1B. To go to an RM1 zoning would make us jump from R1B to RM1, which is a 2 zoning change jump, and it's basically stated on our zoning map. You can see that clear as day, that property is R1B. I'm not saying that the best thing to do currently the way it's developed. I mean, the way it's zoned, he can put 9 single-family homes in there. 9 single-family homes, you may have 30, 40-year-olds. They may have 2, 3 kids at home. They may have 2, 3, 4 cars in the driveway playing soccer, baseball, barbecues in the afternoon, or a similar condominium complex like you have at Deer Park. Basically, you got an elderly community, you got 1 car at home. 8 o'clock at night, everybody's pretty much in for the night. You know, I think that there's a lot that was really really needs to be looked at other than just not developing the property. I don't think that's going to be the answer. At the same time, we have to answer to the people. We know the developer's going to develop it, and when he leaves, we're going to be stuck with the decision that we're going to make. And I think the public is right. We did swear into an oath that we would keep Bruce Township as rules we can, and we would try to abide by our current zoning. So, I mean, I wish that there was...
Well, there's also a growing problem in this community, and it's been here for a while. We have a lot of people that have lived in this community for a long time, and they are now getting older and becoming empty nesters, and they want to stay in this community and want to downsize. There's nowhere for them to downsize. So there is going to become a breaking point eventually somewhere. And I agree with what Mike just said. I mean, he has a right to develop his property. But I would like to see an opinion from our attorney, because I'm sure they've dealt with similar issues in court, find out where they've ended up. Another question I have, I mean, I keep hearing that we got to stick to the master plan, and I agree with that. But what is the difference of changing the zoning with this property, other than the fact that we have a developer here that wants to develop it, versus the property that was owned by a church that we had to pay for, that requested rezoning, and we rezoned it? What's the difference? We went against the master plan.
There's a huge difference. There's a huge difference, Frank. If you recall, everything surrounding that community by the church was zoned R1B.
Right.
The church property was zoned RM1. We went from dense to less dense.
I agree,
There's a
but-
huge difference
but again,
from
that's-
going to R1B to R1,
But
from
again-
going to R1B to R.
My point is,
So if you don't see that difference,
my point is that we keep arguing that we need to stick to the master plan. That's been in the master plan for the longest time.
no, it
correct?
was not in the master plan that way. It was for medium density. The zoning was wrong. We corrected the zoning to line up with the master plan.
Okay.
And your attorney will back it to
And let me make further, the applicant did not do the best he could to try to get approval, because we had work group sessions that some stuff was ignored. The other thing about 55-year community, I think it would go a long way if there was some deed restrictions and if the township had first right of refusal to change that you'd know what kind of people would be in that community long-term, not just developed as such and perhaps changed later. I think that's two important points to note. And the risk you have, if the conditions are too easy to meet, you risk that the development of that corridor going around could be at risk for additional, more dense development. And as people get older and want to sell their property, an opportunistic developer will jump all over that. So those are the things you have to be cautious of.
I think that one of the primary issues is the density, is that the
That's one
higher
of the issues. I
density
mean,
is the big one.
The motion by the planning commission included many elements. Density was one
I read
element.
it. Mr. Hagelstein did a great job putting it together. It's very
did.
lengthy and very detailed. And I know we have 7 great members on the planning commission that did all the research and done all the work and brought the recommendation to the board. I understand that. I'm just trying to grasp exactly what the,
If you do approve a 2-level jump, you're setting a precedent, just like Mike's stating.
right. But at the same time, Frank's got a point, if this does end up going to court, what's gonna end up happening?
What I would suggest that is if we gave this to an attorney, you would get a
Right.
type of response. That's what you would get.
We don't know that.
My guess, my experience of 14 years on the planning commission. Paul, what do you think?
20 years.
20 years.
Absolutely.
So if you want to go from wisdom of experience in dealing with this stuff.
And being on the board 10 years too, I've seen the attorney working for us, and they would back us on this.
So we have a motion on the floor by Tremblay, supported by our,
Lisa, did you have a comment?
I just had one. So the ability to build, let's say, 9 homes on that property is still an option based on current?
R1B is about half-acre parcel. He has 5.2 acres, so if you do the math, it's 10.
Okay.
Realistically, the planner thought he could do maybe 8, realistically, when you put the streets in and the utility.
There's also a high water table there, so.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, reasonably, you could expect there could be 8. Which is one of the reasons that I think Deer Park was willing to entertain a condominium development. Unfortunately, the conditions fell short of what would make that a compromise. And the planning commission agreed.
any other discussion? We get a roll call, please?
Tremblay?
Yes to support the planning commission's recommendation.
Clara? Yes. Craven? Yes. Georgino?
No.
Philbrook?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I want to thank everybody for coming out, all the residents, Tom, Mr. Torres, appreciate all your time.
Thanks for coming out, guys.
Village of Romeo, trustee Justin, thanks for all your work, Anne Marie. Rick's in the back. You guys, if you're not here to discuss any other topics, you're more than welcome. Ladies, if you want to take a 5-minute recess, let the hallway clear. So we're gonna take 5 minutes or 10 minutes. We'll be back at 8:10.
That is entertaining. Oh, I didn't know.
Brandon, are you here for the, are you here just to hang out for a little bit, or? Are we gonna make a motion on what we talked about, our original?
No, I thought that was.
No, that was removed.
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to discuss that.
Light duty, we discussed the whole light duty situation, we might be able to make a motion on
We
that.
took this off the agenda.
We took it all off.
Yeah, I remember at the beginning. I do remember
I
here.
think we're gonna have an offline discussion with the chief. Right? Brandon.
All right. I just think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in getting that policy put together. That's all.
Hey, Mike, just a recommendation for you guys on food. When you have this bigger crowd in here, it was hard to hear you guys over the intercoms, because unless you talk directly into those mics, you know, it's hard to hear you out here with all the people that were
We
here.
could turn it up a little bit. I didn't know anybody's having a hard time hearing.
I think the key is you gotta be like 6
We
inches from the
questioned that when
microphone.
they were putting this new system in, and what we've been told is that no matter what kind of mics you put on, you're always gonna have an issue. People have a tendency of looking towards the other way, or
You gotta
sitting back.
talk into the mic.
Right.
But I
You gotta be at least
can
6
hear
inches
you.
away at all times.
I noticed it when you were talking, that I can hear you pretty clear.
Right,
Right up here.
yeah.
Or you
The
could
system works, but no matter what you get.
Turned it up a notch too. that way.
Right.
Okay, let's resume our meeting. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. All right, let's move on to item 7B, rental office amendment. This is another item that was what happened, so our ordinance 161, our clear zoning ordinance, was updated, and the language, dedicated sales offices are not permitted, was left off accidentally by Joe Tangari. So there was a public hearing on this at our PC meeting on December 7th. They made the motion to go ahead and make a recommendation to the board to have the wording, dedicated sales officer not permitted, to be added back to item, or ordinance 161, sections 3.8 and 3.9.
Make a motion to accept the amendment as written.
Yeah, that, I just made the motion.
Oh, second.
Any other discussion?
So this is just a correction, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
It was originally on there and it was accidentally left off.
it was erroneous.
Okay, it's just basically an amendment. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gilbert, you made a motion?
Yes. Supported by Trumbull.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Tremblay,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Giorgio,
Yes.
Pratt.
Yes.
Moving on to item 7C. This again was heard by the PC on June 1st of 2022. There was a public hearing that was held. It was a recommendation to the board at that time. The board did vote on it on June 15th. The recommendation was approved by a vote of 4-1. The problem was that this issue was never published in the paper, so we have to make another motion to go ahead and approve it and have it published. So it would be, I'm going to read you got the, so I don't have that. Let me just, so I'll make a motion to amendment to sections 3.1.13, item 5, to modify the manner in which banquet halls are permitted in the C2 district, and the addition of the new section 4.48 to provide regulations for the same, meaning banquet facilities do not need to be in a standalone facility in the C2 district.
Second.
By Tremblay. Any other discussion? Can we get a roll call, please?
Gilbert,
Yes.
Tremblay,
Yes.
Giorgio,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Moving on to item 7D, HR proposal. Frank, you want to?
Yes, so what we had talked about is to have some better communication between management and workforce. So we had a gentleman come in here who has over 30 years of experience of HR experience, working with unions. And his proposal would call for assessing employee and management relationship and relations matters. He would have interviews with various people and write us a story at the end of the subject. And his fee would be $6,000. Project timing would probably take about an estimated about 10 to 15 days on the on site, and then the rest of his time would be probably working from home, putting his findings together.
I would ask the board, are you currently having issues with, between the
Yes.
board and employees?
Yes.
Because I keep hearing how broke you are, and you're going to spend $6,000 on this? And the question would be, why are you having issues?
The township's technically not broken. I think that was kind of misinterpreted. I think that we are basically sustaining exactly the way we should be with the current revenue we have coming in our assets. I mean, so I think that there are some issues that we may have with our HR. So it has been talked about since pretty much day one that this board has started. So.
Is it okay, is it appropriate to ask a question on that topic right now?
If you go to the podium,
I will,
please.
thank you. Just real quick, at one point, we did have someone that handled the HR for the township. Do we not have a person that handles that right now? We do. And so that person isn't quite understanding the relationship between the employee and what's happening with management?
This would include the fire department and our offices, so I think the idea with Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we wanted somebody out from outside to come in.
Okay.
An independent party that has no affiliation with anybody here to do an assessment on what needs to be done.
Okay, so that would make it fair and impartial at that point. Okay, thank you.
Frank, the project timing.
We change the date.
Yeah, they would have to change the date. So again, he brought this to us prior, whenever we met that last time, first week of December. Or
He would be okay with
December.
starting in January?
Yeah, so actually, he reached out to me after he sent this and told me that he wouldn't be able to start till like the 20th. Well, he'd be able to come in after January 1st, the 2nd. So obviously, it wouldn't happen next week because Township's closed. But it'd be during the month of January after everybody comes back to work. Talk to Rhonda, but yeah, I guess talk to Rhonda or probably take it out of the media funds.
I think it would be a good idea. Is there any way that this, I mean, is there any way this is going to save us money in the long run, or have a positive outcome, or how it's going to save us money, or how the township's going to benefit from it? I mean, obviously, maybe a better workplace or place like that.
Might be, yeah, I don't know. It could save us money if we get to a point where there's civil dialogue between the employees and management. I mean, I think we could all attest to the fact that last couple times we met, there's so much tension over every little issue that's brought up, resistance about doing anything. And not to say that one side is right and the other side is wrong, but, if an idea is presented, it should be explored, and then if you can afford it, great, do it. If it's saving money in the long run, or if it's for the betterment of the morale of the workforce, And if it's not, then you just have to say, sorry, we can't do it, but at least take the opportunity to explore.
So after the determination or comes up with his results and it's basically said that you can't find anything wrong, or is this going to be the end of this issue? It's been,
I would, yeah,
I don't-
yes, it would.
I don't agree that it would be. I just think it's important to note that there have been HR issues before this board ever came to this table, okay? Back in 2018, when I was part of a citizens committee, our recommendations at that time for the previous board was there needs to be some really sincere HR issues need to be addressed, not just in the fire department, but it was also here in the administration building as well. And at that time, the person that was responsible for HR was, to my knowledge, never really had true HR background or training other than what that person did here. And I think it's true today. And I think that if we don't at least temporarily start looking at, you know, this is a short-term solution. Long-term is we really need to look at how are we better managing all HR issues before we have a lawsuit that comes to this board. And believe me, then it gets really expensive when you don't consider putting a few $1,000s into something up front. And I think our people, our employees within Bruce Township deserve that, and I think we as a board need to recognize that as well.
I agree on that. I mean, the fact of the matter is that if we have a professional and an outside source come in, unbiased, makes a determination, and he feels that everything's running normally, is it going to end at that point? Or, I mean, we can't continuously have HR issues if we have an outside source that says that there's no issues. I'm not saying that's going to be the outcome, but you know, we can't keep an HR person on staff that's charging this kind of money either. You know?
Not yet, but eventually you're gonna have to. The township's gonna grow. And there's laws out there and rules that if they don't get addressed, eventually we're gonna get sued.
Even if
No,
it's considered.
I'm not denying it. I'm
Right.
just saying that this HR issue's been we've talked about HR at more of our board meetings than any other discussion. Is what I'm
Right.
saying is that we have an HR, we pay to have an HR guy come in at $6,000 and does this study. Is this gonna put this to rest for a little while, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, but we gotta, I guess we have to find out again from an
And-
outside source.
And it depends on what actions we take. I don't honestly believe that they're gonna come in and say, oh, everything is great. Because it just doesn't work that way. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, there's always room for improvement. And, you know, hey, if it's down the road, we look at hiring either a contract HR person part-time, or a full-time person, or whatever, you know, something needs to be done. None of us as board members have the HR background to be able to say what's right, and for us to constantly be going to an attorney to get that, you know, to get that advice is not cost-effective either. So, you know, the HR person is not just for the employees, it's for the direction of this leadership as well, to make sure that we're doing things appropriately and according to law.
Mike, the way I look at this is a independent, well-qualified third party to do a discovery assessment of what's going on. And I don't believe that he will find nothing, right, based on conversations I've heard over the last year or so.
No, I agree. You know.
But I do have a couple of questions regarding the proposal. The second bullet under methodology refers to fire chief, lieutenant sergeants, and supervisors. Could we add other department heads? Like, in other words, office department heads.
Yeah, I think that's what he means by supervisors. I mean,
Okay, that's what he means.
Yeah, that's generic throughout the whole township.
And then the written report of
That guy
issues.
supervisor would be probably us.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, you three guys.
Yep.
The written report of issues and info we provided with Township, the report will include the names of the employees interviewed. But I think the result should be respect the confidentiality and anonymity of the people providing it, so that you can't point a comment to a person.
I think what he meant by this bullet point, because I did question him about that, he says that if there's something that's brought up that's a threatening matter, he would have to probably legally tell you the name.
I get that.
Yeah, but otherwise it would be kept confidential.
And then the last one I got is, how will the transaction be consummated? Will there be a consulting agreement? Will it be a purchase order? Will there be a letter agreement? I mean, this is a proposal, but how will it be
Probably
transacted?
an invoice, unless you want a
So
contract.
would we issue a purchase order to him?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll make a motion, to go ahead and approve to have, spend $6,000 out of media fund money to have, HR consultant come in and do a study.
Second.
Second by DeGiorgio. Do we have any other discussion? Can we get a roll call, please? Yes?
Yes.
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 Moving on to 7E, the RFP for the water and the sewer. Frank, you want to take that?
Yeah, so, the last board meeting, we talked about, well, I don't know if it was the last board meeting, but we had a special meeting with our attorneys in AEW, and they took a look at that sewer and water study that was done by Michigan Rural Association, I believe the name of it was, and they just felt that that wasn't a very, what's the word I'm looking for, they just felt there wasn't, comprehensive, or based on what most of these other people do. So they, our attorney, Mr. Siebert, gave us a list of 4 names to contact that are known for doing this. And Plant Moran is one of them, UFS was another, I forget the other 2, I forgot my email in my office. I had sent them out, I sent all of you a copy of the 4 that I sent it to, and out of the 4, 3 responded. Plant Moran and UFS said that they had interest in doing it, and a third one said thanks, but no thanks, we're too busy, and a 4th one never replied. So we're down to the 2. Plant Moran, on the back page, or the second from the last page, you'll see what they're looking to charge. Anywhere between $18,000 and $25,000 to have this study done. And they commit not to exceed the $25,000. UFS is somebody that did a study with us, I believe, in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Their proposal came in at, well, they give us 2 options. Option A is $27,000 if they have on-site meetings. Total project cost would be $24,000, an extra $3,000 to have 2 separate meetings. And option B would be $17,000 total project cost, and an additional $3,000 if they had up to 2 meetings. Well, it's $1,500 for each meeting. They pretty much both talked about doing the same type of study.
When did you said that they did the same study for us before?
UFS did, I think it was 20, I might be wrong on the dates, I think it was 2017 or 2018.
Paul, you recall it?
I mean, I'd have to go back and look. I don't recall exactly, but, you know, if you're going to do this, I would recommend considering Pat Moran so that you can compare what the one company did back in 2017 or whatever year it was compared to what this one does. I mean, this has been lingering forever, the water sewer issue. It really needs to be resolved. In fact, I would charge the board right now, tonight or next month, to rescind your increase on the sewer, which was in the black, and everybody admitted it was in the black. It was absolutely unnecessary to raise those rates because you put some of our businesses in jeopardy by doing that. So you should rescind the sewer increase immediately, and then let us continue with the Citizens Committee to bring you facts and figures, hardcore information to make good, solid decisions with. You could leave the water increase because my understanding is they weren't getting charged, you know, what they should have been getting, but rescind the sewer to back to what it was until we can provide you the data that'll give you the information to make a hardcore decision moving forward. It took me 6 months to rewrite that sewer ordinance. All right, so you got to give us some time, and we still need information from Susan. She needs to provide us so that we can, you know, start pulling that data together. But my recommendation would look at Pat Moran. I mean, they sound pretty equitable in price. Maybe Pat's a little less, but that way you can contrast what was done before with the one company compared to a newer company today. All right, and then move forward with that. And then our committee would like to have that information too, once that's complete, so that we can compile that into everything we're doing for you. So that would be my recommendation.
Can I got a question for you, Paul? When you were doing your study back on the sewer and you were making your calculations, did you anticipate that we were going to have 5 lift stations in our community?
Do you have what?
We have 5 lift stations in our community, and the cost and upkeep and maintenance on those 5 lift stations. Did you take that in consideration?
Yes, it was. But also the number of people we haven't, when I originally wrote that, you've probably got another 50% more people on that system than you did back then. So you're bringing in a lot more revenue than even back then. And the system's in the black. But you have to...
You calculated out, your whole calculations were based on upcoming users, people coming onto the system. But
Right.
we still had to borrow money last month from our general fund to pay for our sewer bill.
Well, my question would be, where's the money that's in the black going? Because you're getting more money per month than you're paying out. And the question is it going back to pay the debt to the community for, you know, the general fund? Or is it going back to paying down the sewer debt? Or is it going into the maintenance fund? Where is that difference going?
It's going to the sewer debt.
Huh? But we can't even get the documents to show that. We should have documentation showing where that overage is going. Okay? That's what we need to make a good, solid decision. That's what you need so that you can see the big picture.
I mean, that's why we're talking about hiring these people, and we met with the attorney, Bob Siebert. We had a good hour-and-a-half meeting, I think it was, and he was very adamant that everything that was done in the past wasn't very good.
No, wait a minute, Frank, wait.
I'm just telling you what he's...
No, Bob Siebert vetted that ordinance rewrite for the sewer. He vetted it, as did the township planner. Okay, they both went through that with a fine-tooth comb, and they gave it their blessing to go forward. So I would challenge Bob if he did stay that, because he's the one that blessed it and approved it going forward. Okay, and within under 2 years, it got us in the black. We weren't taking out a general fund every month like we were. So it did work. Maybe it needs tweaking, okay, but it certainly doesn't need a 40% rate increase with arbitrarily, you know, no numbers, no hard facts behind it. This study and what we're doing will help you make those decisions, you know, going forward. So again, I would charge you guys to rescind the sewer increase back to what it was until we can give you all the hard facts and information, until this study is complete. And then you can see how much money is going back into the general fund, it's going to pay down the debt, or it's going into the maintenance fund.
So the reason that our businesses are struggling a little bit because of our sewer increases, basically because the fee schedule wasn't put together very well. And that was the biggest problem that Bob Seaver had, is that all of our wording was terrible, the wording, the way it was worded and how it was put, legally, there's nothing.
Yeah. Well,
he can
once,
sink his teeth in.
once the board approved that ordinance rewrite, okay, then it was up to the clerk at the time to implement it, okay? And
So you
maybe
admit-
it wasn't implemented as well as it could have been.
Right.
So, right, but, and I'm saying it could be tweaked, but we're trying to help you come up with some hard facts and figures. This study would help you. Then you can look at the big picture and say, this is what we need to do moving forward. But let's not put our residents and businesses in jeopardy, with just an arbitrary raise. That company you guys listened to I think it's on the west side of Michigan, can't think of it off the top of my head, that's all they know, raise rates, raise rates, raise rates. Now, if you're personally go into debt, do you go to your boss and say, hey, I'm in debt, give me some more money? No, that's what you're doing to the residents. They're your boss, okay? That's not how you work. You restructure your debt, you restructure, the ordinance on how it's working and benefiting people, all right? So that we can balance it out and get into the black sooner than later. So,
I mean, I would rather see the fee schedule get rewritten. I think that would be the most important thing, so that businesses like our grocery stores or whatever the case might be are not going to be paying such a high sewer debt. In a residential area, I mean, like I said, we're not sustaining enough to be able to maintain our sewer district at all, or even to make improvements or even to make upgrades, or even maybe we're thinking about increasing our sewer district. We don't have money there.
well, but here's the thing, Mike, you don't charge the current people on the system to do an upgrade for future users. That should be charged to the future user bank, not to the current one. It's not their fault that you're adding more and you're going to charge them for that. They have no benefit from the additional.
Just charge certain sewer district users certain prices and other ones other prices.
But your current users don't get any benefit from you adding capacity. They are on the system as it is, so they should be charged currently as it is. Future users get charged for what they're going to use in the future, all right? So you need different levels on it. It's only fair. You got to look at everything fair and equitable when you're talking sewer and water, and it wasn't. We made it fair and
I have to
equitable.
disagree with you. When you put together sewer rates and water rates, you have to make them the same for how you're using it. You can't charge one group because they came on early.
No, I'm not saying that, but you have to consider adding that on for, at the future rate. It's just like, you can't lump the sewer users and the sewer and water users. Now, if you're on water, you're on sewer. But there's people on sewer that are not on water. So you can't lump those two together. They should be separate, because the people only on sewer should not be held responsible to pay for the water debt.
They're not.
They're not,
Okay, well, because that's not fair.
but they're not.
They're not.
All right. All right, I just want to make sure that, that's the way it should be,
Right.
to make it fair and equitable. And we had to bring up some businesses that were paying nothing, had sweetheart deals and were paying nothing, and, had to bring them back into reality. But we also have to be careful that if we want future, but look at Fiddler Cove is half empty. If we want to draw businesses in the community, we have to make it enticing for them to come here.
We got a landlord over there that's no.
I understand that landlord. I dealt with him for 4 years on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know.
That's a whole different issue.
I know that. But you do have ordinances you can hold them to. So that would be, but I would consider the Pat Moran deal so that you can compare and contrast to what was done by the other company, all right? And then we would like to get all that information so we can help provide, some recommendations moving forward also.
I don't know what the information you guys, we have any information you want. I mean, I don't,
Well,
the sewer fund is like a check.
she has a list of things we need, so Teresa does.
She wanted to come in the other day and go over stuff, but we had just met with the attorney and the engineer, and it felt like,
Timing wise?
yeah, we weren't ready for them yet.
Yeah.
This is how I felt. Plus, Dana was leaving and we were hiring somebody new, and so it was just turned out.
Kind of timing.
Frank, I have a question. Did you say the township's closed next week?
Yeah,
During the Christmas holiday, yeah.
What about your office for people that want to pay their taxes
They can
before
pay
they?
their taxes at the banks. It's been like that before we even came in.
Okay, now, I know Debbie used to be open the week, her office people would drop off. She would make that announcement every year, so.
Yeah, so we have a drop box in the back, so there's other ways that people can pay.
Okay,
their
just wanna make sure it's
bills. Yep, they can
convenient.
Pay them at the drop box.
Right.
Put them in the mail. They can pay them at the 3 different banks that are located here in town, where they can pay. I do plan on coming in one day next week, probably toward the end of the week, to get all the US mail that I'm gonna have to work with Susan.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's convenient for the people,
Yeah.
especially the older people.
Right, yep, that's why all the banks are listed on the back of the book tag.
Okay.
Thanks for your input.
Thanks, Paul. The one, UFS, they said is about the 12-week turnaround period is, you know, if anybody's seen it, Plant Moran was the same?
Yeah, it's on page 7. By March 3rd, they would have it a wrap up and delivery date of March 3rd, between February 15th and March 3rd.
Did you have any communications with either of them other than just submitting the bids?
No, just when I submitted the bid, that was it. Like I said, I did try to call UFS, called, because we just got this Monday. So I called, left message, I called 3 times actually, UFS, and to have an explanation of what the project schedule, what the difference is between option A and option B. It's confusing to me why they're charging $8,500
Both the water and sewer.
for water and sewer, and then cost of service, $3,500 for each one, sewer and water, or option B, and they deliver that in 12 weeks, option A. Option B, they deliver it in 8 weeks, but they're not charging them $3,500 for each. It seems to me it should be the opposite. They're spending more time with the 12 weeks than they are with the 8.
And did you get a response?
No.
No
I
response
called-
at all?
No, I called Mark Bouchamp twice, and I called Dan Casball once,
At UFS?
at UFS, yes.
You didn't get a return call
No,
from either one?
no.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve Plant Moran, do our sewer and water study at the cost of, there's not a fixed cost, it's a 18 to 24,000, is that what it is? 18 to 25.
Yeah.
I would like it to be known that they would get a phone call to let them know how small our sewer and water district is, and that our water district is much smaller than our sewer district.
Okay.
Maybe fall on
Do
board.
you know where this is coming from? Did you check around it?
I mean, this can-
No, I didn't, but it does fall under the
ARPA money?
ARPA money, yeah.
I think it would be a good investment. So I'll make the motion, go ahead and approve, Plan Moran to do the sewer and water study at a cost between 18 and 25,000. Funding coming out of ARPA money.
A second.
Second by DeGiorgio. Any other discussion?
Yes, when I was looking at this, I was looking at the qualifications of the teams. And the UFS people have more than just finance backgrounds, they have engineering backgrounds. And I think it's important to not just look at numbers, but you gotta look at maybe engineering designs, understanding cost factors, what drives costs for these things. And I'm not sure, just based on looking at the qualifications of the team, I kind of like the UFS team better because they have engineering and finance backgrounds versus just finance backgrounds. I'm afraid if you go with Plant Moran, you might just get a number study like we got before.
Yeah, I thought they were both equally qualified, according to what I heard.
The Plant Moran people do not have an engineering background. I was just looking at the people doing it.
Right. No, I agree. I don't have that information.
I'm sure they both could do a good job. I just wonder if there would be a different slant, given that you got an engineering firm who might
I was just
understand.
thinking that you would get a different company with different, ideas.
I don't know.
It might be interesting too to see the two comparisons of this company, the previous one, just to see where we stand.
Yeah, right, that would be interesting too.
The only thing that concerns me is the fact that Frank has made several attempts to get in contact with them for clarification on a bid that they submitted and have received he's received no response back. That's concerning to me, especially if we're putting out this.
Potential customer.
Yeah. I'd be calling back immediately. That's just what I would do.
See, my interest on the water side is what are the cost levers that the township may be able to influence to drive our costs down? Because that's our main issue, is we're the highest cost customer from Great Lakes Water by 50% from the next highest. With sewer, it's probably more of a financial exercise, and what do you need to service your bond requirements, your repayments of the general fund, and establishing a capital improvement fund. But water is a little different, and I really would like to see what type of things they came up with, how can you control your cost drivers in knowing how Great Lakes Water charges for this. And I don't know if Plant Moran can do that or not. I mean, I'm sure they're both qualified. They've done these studies before. And I do appreciate your comment, Lisa, that you're not getting a response.
Yeah, that was
What's the relationship with the
Right.
immediate contract with them?
I mean, I even tried calling at 5:30 again last time for our meeting.
Those are just my comments, thanks.
So I did put a motion in with, going with Plant Moran. Anybody want to support that? Frank, you did support it. Frank,
I did, but I mean, you know, he makes a valid point. These guys have engineering experience and, you know, I mean.
Plant Moran's a big company, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they are.
Can you check with them about their engineering aspect?
If you can get a hold of them.
Feels
I
urgent.
don't like
Maybe
people
we
that don't
should
call you
postpone
back.
it.
No, Plant Moran.
Plant Moran,
Oh,
he hasn't
we're talking
had
about
that
Plant
problem.
Moran.
Yeah, our water issue is a much bigger issue than our sewer issue for 5R.
Postpone until we talk to him. Feels urgent, but.
Well, we got a committee working on it. I mean, obviously, the homeowners are not happy with where things
Right,
are
I
at.
mean, I'd love to see it. I would love to move forward.
You could put a contingency on it that they have some kind of engineering, or we're satisfied with some kind of engineering.
Again, these companies were referred by Seabird, our attorney. So,
They're both
Plant Moran
reputable
was one of
firms.
them.
There's no doubt they're both reputable.
yeah, and, you know, and even our engineer, Gordy Wilson, he named all these as well. He supported what Seabird had to say, and he's worked with all.
Who does Washington Township use?
I think they use Plant Moran for
They do?
that's their auditing.
Yeah, well, they have this done annually. They have some kind of, yeah. But they're way bigger than we
I
are.
know Parks and Rec is Plant Moran. Isn't it, Lisa?
Well, Plant Moran is an accounting firm, and
Yeah, they're-
financial services arm, and a
Yeah.
consulting arm. They're a multifaceted company. UFS looks like UFS is a focused company on utilities. That's why. It just,
I got my motion, it's been supported. I think that, there's no other discussion, let's do a roll call. Yes.
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 Moving on to item 7F, part-time new hire. Susan?
So this, you have the resume of Hannah Reynolds. We had probably 6 applicants. Sorry. I just wasn't talking into it.
Can he turn those up in the back room? Possibly, maybe.
So this is what we came up with. I have the job description here because it wasn't in the, just to refresh your memories, what it entails. Didn't put it in the packet, so.
Is this taking the place of someone?
This is for billing, we have the intern there now, yes.
This is the longer term.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I guess.
We had
I
Danielle
remember.
and then, yeah.
And you interviewed 6 people, you had 6?
Yeah.
This is
Quite a
one
few
reference.
people, yes.
Do you know this lady, Lisa? She lives in your subdivision.
Yes, I do. I know Joanna personally, and, you know, I have nothing but good things to say about her. I think the township would be lucky to have her as part of their team.
She started.
She would start on the 9th of January, I think that's what we decided.
What's Ava leaving then?
End of January.
I'll make a motion to hire Joanna McReynolds as a part-time new hire effective January 9th.
I'll second.
Second by Crafty. Any other discussion? Maybe get a roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. And then item 7G, meeting schedule. I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the meeting schedule as presented.
I'll second.
Second by Crafty.
I just want to throw out there, I know this might be difficult for you, but that one night we met at 6 instead of 7 was kind of nice for anybody.
What was it?
Instead of 7 o'clock starting time, a 6 o'clock starting time?
You want to change it?
Well, that one night we did, because our meetings go so long.
Lisa.
I know, that's why I'm directing this toward her.
I can do a 6 o'clock meeting. I might be a few minutes late if that's okay, but.
Well, if it's inconvenient for you or anybody else objects, but I was just curious because it was nice when we
Yeah.
were able to get out at a decent
Are
time.
you talking about all the meetings or just the board meetings?
I was, the board meeting is what I was suggesting, just came to mind.
I've got no objection starting at 6 o'clock.
I support that.
So I'll make a motion to go ahead and,
Are you talking about this meeting to 6 o'clock?
Yep.
Yeah.
The only problem is residents.
I mean, we used to go 7:30 to 9 o'clock, and then we went to 7 to 9, and I would think that if your agenda's too long, string it out and, you know, balance it out better, rather than pile it up. Because, I mean, with good meeting management, you should be able to get done in 2 hours. You're gonna have the occasional one go over, like maybe tonight, but,
right now, we're going on 3 hours.
huh?
We're halfway through the agenda. Right now, we're at 3 hours and we're halfway through the agenda.
Well, you were in a closed session.
Oh.
That's not the public.
Right. I mean, we can't, these items that we have on the agenda are just not all time sensitive, but they are time sensitive. And most of our meetings that we've had have been well over 3 hours.
There should be no reason you're doing that over 3-hour meetings.
I don't know how we can eliminate the items that are put in front of us. I mean,
You weren't at the 1:30 in the morning meeting.
I support that, 6 o'clock. Gives us more time to get things done if we need to go longer.
we did put a deadline at 10:30 that or was 10 o'clock, that the meetings went on.
You know what, we can go at 6. If we find it's a problem going forward, we can always make a motion to change it back.
Yeah.
The
So is this
question
just-
is that inconvenient for the residents to be here if there's an issue they need to be here for?
We'll find out. If it is, we'll change it back.
I think you'd be better carrying over than you are moving it forward.
I like the idea of being earlier. Most municipalities are going earlier.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Some of them during the day.
inconvenient to you, But it inconvenienced the public.
You don't know that for a fact.
And you guys are here
Anyway,
for the
why is-
public, right?
We do, we are
We're here every day for the public. We're here every day,
5 days a week?
So do we want
We're here
all of
every
these
day.
at
5
6
days a
or
week.
just our?
every day.
I think that each
Say 5 days a week,
They can
Frank.
just keep the other.
5 days a
7.
week. I have my phone on all.
Point of order,
I'm here every day.
Point of order.
let's
Thank
focus
you.
on
Board
it.
meeting.
Ted,
Thank you.
are we gonna make a motion to go ahead and change them all, Mike, or you wanna have, you can't, once we approve it, or can you guys comment it at your,
I would suggest if we're gonna change, we change one,
See how
and
that
see it
goes.
works out. If it works out, we can revisit the others, and if it doesn't work out, we move it back. I mean, decisions aren't always made in stone, they can be changed.
And this is just for effective for the new fiscal year. It's
Correct.
not saying January through March meetings will still be held at 7 PM. That'll give, is
Well,
that
what's the
correct
motion?
in what you're saying?
I'll just make them basically motion to approve the schedule of meetings for the 2023-2024 fiscal year with as presented, with the exception of the township board meeting to start at 6 PM.
Second.
But Mike, I guess the question from Lisa is, what are we doing from January through March? Are you gonna do
Those
those
would
at
still
7?
remain at 7, and if there's enough, I'd say that gives us.
It gives it 3 months to get
notice
feedback.
that if there's
Yeah.
any residents that are not comfortable with this time change, they have 3 months, and we will restate it at every meeting going forward until the meeting on April.
Yeah.
And that gives enough time for us to get feedback.
So that's basically the motion stays because it's for the 2023-2024 fiscal year.
So you'll vote.
Yes, right. And
So-
was it supported? Was your?
I did support it.
Okay. So roll call?
Is it the holiday schedule?
Yeah.
So, can we have roll call, please?
Okay, well, how many motions have you got? I've got 3 different motions.
No, I just make support, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the 2023-2024 scheduled meetings for 2023-2024 fiscal year as presented with the exception of township board meetings to start at 6 PM.
Second. Support.
Support by Susan. And we just do this all in favor, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 7H, the holiday schedule for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. I know originally it was 20 days and we've got it down to 18 days now.
Well, this is a little different. Did she go over that with you?
Yeah.
Because of the changes we made to our hours, our official hours. So,
So I'll make a motion to approve the holiday schedule as presented for the fiscal year 2023-2024. Support by DeGiorgio. All in favor?
Question.
Oh, sorry.
The holiday schedule's been vetted internally with you 3 guys?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
It's been vetted with you 3 guys? You guys are all
Yeah.
good? Okay.
Yep, it came to us.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
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 Moving on to item 7I, this scheduled workshop. That's for a budget workshop. We got no, basically there's no info. We just need to schedule a workshop. What dates would be good, times wise, obviously Lisa, to do a scheduled workshop. Does anybody want to shoot for like the second week of January?
How about the beginning of the 3rd week? We'll be gone that week.
Yeah, that's
On
fine.
vacation.
Get my calendar. So, any better, Lisa, what days or evenings would be better for you, obviously?
Tuesdays through Thursdays.
Mike, what do you got on your agenda for those evenings?
Well, the 3rd week I'm committed on a Thursday. I could do Tuesday, Wednesday.
How about January 17th, is Tuesday?
Fine by me.
6?
Date, or time to be determined? Want to do evening, start
Well, for Lisa,
6 o'clock?
6 work for you?
Right.
6 PM is fine.
I don't think we need to make a motion on it at all.
That's what date was the closest?
7.
January 17th. Tuesday.
Rhonda recommends that we all talk to our staff and whoever else to kind of get a feel for what we need, what they think they need to
Yeah,
more prepared.
okay. Chief, I think that, it would probably be good if you came into the budget meetings too. I think that would be something Ron was looking at. Maybe you meet with us at the same time, so. Okay. January 17th work for you? Okay. So temporarily, we're set up tentatively for January 17th at 6 PM. Worked out pretty well. Moving on to item 7J, the Armada Schools. Are we going to do Armada
Yeah,
Schools?
we can lump these all together. Armada, Macomb Community College, and Romeo Community Schools just sent their request in as well. So basically what we do is we collect $2.50 per parcel for the 2023 tax year. So make a motion that we approve that Bruce Township collects $2.50 per parcel for the Armada School District, Macomb County Community College, and the Romeo Community Schools.
I'll support. Any other discussion?
This is consistent with what we've been doing, Frank?
Yeah, it's consistent with,
Thank you.
May we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Giorgio?
Yes.
Colbert?
Yes.
Trumbull?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on, item 7L, Acumen contract. Chief, you want to?
Right, so Acumen Billing does all our billing for EMS and fire. They're wondering if we wanted to sign a 5-year contract with them. So our EMS funds that they would charge monthly on our run volume would go from 7.75% to 6.30%. And our fire services per month would go from 6% fee on their behalf to a 6.30 fee on their behalf for our services. So emergency fees would go from 7.75 to 6.30. The fire service would go from 6% even to 6.30%.
Have you had any problems with Acumen?
No?
Any issues they've always resolved them with?
Frank, you work with them, right? I mean,
Yeah, they're,
stand up.
no problem. And,
They do the majority of the departments in the area.
yeah, they send us a notice every time they're depositing funds. It's all itemized as far as who they're billing, how much we send.
Yeah, the team's available all the time.
Yeah.
Easy to work with.
Yeah.
I had a deal with them one time, I had great
Yeah, they're
great
good to work
experience
with.
with them.
Very thorough.
Doesn't seem like there's been much of a change in the rate increase.
Can I ask you a few questions, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Is there a reason why we don't do this in-house? Do fire departments do this in-house?
I don't know why fire departments do this in-house. I don't know many that do. This is a big task.
So it's kind of a specialized activity?
Yeah, you're, 12, 1,300 runs.
I think it has to do with dealing with insurance companies and a different level of insurance. They know,
Medicare,
right,
Medicaid,
what they charge.
And how long have we been using Acumen?
2014.
I've been here, yeah.
Mostly.
Okay.
They do a collection process too, if they get failure to pay, they put out collection proceedings and stuff too.
Has anyone reviewed the changes to the contract from the prior contract?
That's what the chief just went on.
No, there's more than that. I don't know if they reviewed the other changes that were made from the prior contract.
You get the fee schedule?
Yes. The terms are different. I want to know if anyone else other than me has looked at the differences. If they haven't, then I'd like to discuss them.
Well, the only,
I would like to
Different.
discuss it with them.
right,
I know. What are the difference?
the only difference is,
5 years.
Mike Tremblay is, their ESO platform, our software platform, rather than them billing Acumen and Acumen paying that fee off of our percentage. Acumen asked that we deal directly with ESO for our platform payment annually.
So we pay the software.
We pay the
fee. It's
software.
not in our fee,
Right.
which is probably one of the reasons why our cost is reduced, right? So I'll point out the ones that I found. Section 1B is a new paragraph in the contract. Now that I understand what the chief said, I understand why they inserted this. It says acquiring software, which I think the chief, you just said we were acquiring the software.
Right. We have the software, we will be paying ESO
So
directly.
why would Acumen have to acquire software?
So the Acumen will supply the software.
It says they acquire it.
All
Okay, page 3A. I don't know if this is an issue or not, but that whole paragraph A is new. And what it does is it allows them to increase their price to us if we fail to meet NEMSIS file delivery requirement. So my question is, have we failed to meet that requirement in the past, and that's why they inserted that?
No. That's the national managed reporting system.
And it also would give them sole source for processing such bills, so we wouldn't be able to use an outside firm. I'm assuming we only use them anyway, right? It's a sole source.
Yeah, they're the only ones we use.
Yeah. There's another new entry on B, double I. All available insurance and demographic information to enable Acumen to process the incident to known insurance carriers and other responsible parties. Is that something we weren't providing before? You know why they would have added that? Same section, section F is brand new. Looks like it doesn't apply because it talks about new customers. And it talks about them including new software licenses. I understand part of this is if we change the name of our entity name, there would be a charge. I understand that, I can agree with that, but I just wondered why they added that section F to the contract. For 4C, there's a penalty for late payment. Did we ever pay them late? Because the 1.5% is kind of a high late fee.
No, we get the monthly statements.
Yeah. Well, I don't see that end of it, that comes from the phone.
Yeah. I mean, we get one for Romeo and one for Bruce. We never been late on that.
Okay, I think there's a mistake here by Acumen in 6A. It says either party has the right to terminate the agreement on 30 days written notice of termination if small I, other party defaults on any of its material obligations under this agreement, excluding customer payment obligations, which should be controlled by Section 6B. Section 6B is reserved. They took that out of the contract, so it's unknown as to how the customer payment obligations impact such termination right. I believe it's a mistake by Acumen. I'm also disappointed that nobody else has discovered this. Someone who owned this contract should have known that. Also, our limitation of liability is very skimpy. The only liability that they have is to re-perform services at no additional cost to customers. So if it causes harm where we get sued, that's the limit of theirs, is just to re-perform services or to give their fees back. So there's a financial risk in the event that they had something materially wrong. So my recommendation would be that we ask them if they could extend their existing contract until these issues are addressed.
Yeah.
When's our contract up, Chief?
Well, this would take effect January 2022.
January 1. Is our other,
That's when this contract goes into effect, but when does
When
the
does the other
other
one expire?
contract expire? Do we have the dates
I
on
don't
that?
have an expiration date, no.
I was just wondering.
I'll support.
I think the prior contract said that it would automatically extend for a year, so we might have 12 months. I thought there was something in there about extending for a year, at least in the existing contract, the term of the agreement will extend for a year.
Is this normally renewed annually?
Yeah, see,
This is 5 years.
in section 2, term for the current contract says at the end of the initial term, except as otherwise provided, this agreement shall renew for 1 additional year. So if it's in the existing contract, we have another 12 months.
And then we'll see if they honor that same percentage drops, right? Yeah, I'll call them tomorrow.
See, what's your motion again, Mike, please?
That we continue under the existing contract until we get these issues resolved.
So we're not making a motion. We're not gonna.
Yeah, we're not making a motion.
Okay,
Well, I think the motion is to have this contract corrected.
We're just gonna table
based
till
on
the next
issues
meeting.
identified.
To find out
Postpone.
why it's been changed. There might be a reason on their end why they changed it.
Yeah, well, there's one obvious that's an error, and
Right.
that's that 6B, which I think they just erroneously left that off. And it's typical in contracts that customer payment obligations have a different termination than breach. I think they just left that off, because in the old contract, they do have a provision for customer non-payment termination. And that's, normally is that you have so many days to rectify the situation, so they can't just terminate you right away. You have so many days to rectify it. And I think it's usually like 90 or something like that. So you're not in a lurch.
We'll table till the next meeting, January meeting.
Thank you. Sure.
Thanks, Mike, for in-depth, everything. Appreciate your background and your experience with the contract. Okay, moving on, item 7M was the fire department positions. I mean, we took that off. You don't want to try to make a motion on it, one we agreed on, to try to get it moving.
I think we agreed to meet, right? Brandon, you're good with that? We'll meet with the chief and go through some of the stuff, see if we can collaborate. I think there's a lot flushing out that needs to be done.
Okay, even regard to the light duty job that we did?
All 5, right?
All 5?
Yeah, you guys did not make a decision towards
Yeah, I'd
us.
say all
I don't
5.
want to speak without it.
Okay.
We agree on it.
So move on to item 7N, the Board of Review appointments. So we have some renewals. Make a motion to go ahead and reappoint Kurt Moss, Vice Chair to ZBA for 3 more years. His term ended 10 of 2022, so his term will go till November of 2025. Motion to go ahead and reappoint Lorraine Dalio. Her term ends on January 1st of 23, so her term will go for 2 more years. That'll be January 1st of 2025.
What position is that for?
I'm sorry, Board of Reviews.
Thank you.
Also Randy Cannon, the Board of Reviews, his term ends 1/1 of 23. It'll be additional 2 years to 1/1 of 25. And Dave Vincent, same thing. His term ends on 1/1 of 23. Extend his term 2 more years to 1/1 of 25.
Did you say Kurt and ZBA?
Yeah, ZBA is Kurt Moss. There is another alternate on the Planning Commission, Mike Lurchin. His term has expired, and he did notify me that he was no longer wanted to stay on as an alternate. So we need to find a replacement for him as this alternate. That was a motion. Anybody want to support?
I'll support it, Mike.
Thank you.
Also, if you need suggestions for CBA members, I got a couple people.
They would come in and put in, fill out the application, kind of like we got, so it would be great. I did talk to a couple of applicants we had not interested in a ZBA alternate, but if you got somebody in mind, that would be great. Okay. Second by Tremblay, may we get a roll call, please?
Holbrook,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Giorgio,
Yes.
Crappy.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, moving on to item 7. Item 7O is the poverty exemption guidelines.
Yeah, that's something that's in here every year on an annual basis. It's sent out to residents. If they fall under the criteria of the poverty exemption, they fill out the form. It's turned over to Board of Reviews.
There was some changes though this year as compared to last year. They can qualify at 1.5% instead of 1% the way it is always.
Right.
Which means that, I talked to Lisa a bit about it, so.
That's the assessing department that sends that out.
Basically, the federal guidelines that we are, are stated for us, we can't go below what the federal guidelines are and what the amounts are for the federal guidelines, but we can increase the amount as high as we want to. Most communities go 1.5% to 2%. We've been at 1% increase, meaning that with the poverty guidelines right now for the state line, for a single, like just to take a single family unit with one person in the house that's making $13,590 would qualify for a poverty exemption. What we're looking to do and what the recommendation is from the assessing department, we'll be able to raise that rate of income by 1.5% instead of 1%, what we always have done. So it kind of gives the ability for more people to be able to fall into the poverty exemption.
So by qualifying, they get a reduction in the taxes?
That's correct. We've been basically
This is
at
something
1.
most communities adopt anyway, right? We've adopted it every year, right?
Yeah. We've been always at 1%, so this year we're looking to increase it to 1.5% above the state guideline and federal guidelines.
Oh, good.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the poverty exemption as, poverty exemption policy guidelines for 2023 as presented.
Second.
Second by DeGiorgio. There's no other discussion. Can we get a roll call, please?
Over.
Yes.
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 Security add-ons, Susan, you've been running with that
Yeah.
pretty good.
So we had the pads put on the door, the keypads, and there are a couple things that since we've had it done, we wanted to add to. One was the fire department out front. That one was taken care of. They could get in the back, but they couldn't get into the front, and a lot of them come to this door, yeah. So that one was taken care of, but these two, the first one at the 1600 is for, let's see, that's the one for inside. For inside, we have the two vaults inside here. And with all the security they're requiring of us for elections, we'd like to have them come back and do that. Both of these fell under the $2,000 parameter, but I just thought you all would want to have a say in it. So the other one is for the front and back door. It would automatically open and close, lock and unlock at a certain time every day. And if there's a problem in the parking lot, especially on elections, you could just press a button and, I don't even know if that's labeled, yeah,
Lock the
lockdown,
doors, yeah.
lockdown kind of.
Emergency situations.
Yeah.
Where's the button gonna be at?
Amy, yeah, you want it?
She can have it.
I think it's a necessity for those two doors, the front and back, because they're outdated locks. This one, you can use a Allen wrench to unlock it and unlock it and unlock it, right? Lock it and unlock it.
Yeah, if you use the Allen wrench, you have to do it for both, yeah.
This one, there's a key that not everybody has, so if you're the last one to leave, you can't lock the door, because you don't have a key to lock it. That one doesn't take a Allen wrench. So, and in today's world with the unfortunate people that are out there doing crazy things. I think it's a necessity.
I think all the keypads have been, keyless entry and key fobs and been a great addition to the.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike found out tonight he doesn't need his fob.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you got your PIN number.
Yeah.
Fire department personnel, I know there was a couple hiccups, but I think that they did it right away. Huh?
Oh, Amy took care of them right away.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, MSP, I know they're using the key fob up there because he had to let me in there one day. So I didn't have, mine didn't work up there.
Should now, though.
Station 2. Yeah, it's all good now. I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve it. Continue with work on this career, Motion to approve the 2 bids is presented.
Second.
I think Susan said it first.
And? Thanks, yeah.
Get a roll call, please.
Vogel?
Yes.
Gregorio?
Yes.
Beck?
Yes.
Waffen?
Yes.
Wendell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item 7Q is the air duct cleaning. So this kind of brought to my attention, we have a new hire in the building department. She says that whenever she comes into the office, her nose starts running, her eyes get watery, and she just doesn't understand it. And she pointed to the vent that's on the ceiling, and it looked pretty corroded and rusty. And she was asking when was the air duct vents ever cleaned, and I did a little bit of research and a little bit of checking around. They were never cleaned. So since day one, we've never had our air ducts disinfected or blown out or
Or make sure that they're connected even, because it's so cold, yeah.
Yeah, so I know in 2019, Station 1, I think, was done then, from what I was found out from one of the bid companies. They did it in, somebody said it was 2019. We're going to get a proposal to clean all air ducts, clean and disinfect all air ducts, replace or clean the vent in the building department. Also make sure all the ductwork is hooked up to the vents. Then there's the furnace filters in the furnace rooms don't seem to want to stay in place, so they're going to secure those. We did send it out for bid. We did receive 3 bids on it. First bid from Breathe Easily came out with the highest bid. At the same time, they said they weren't going to be able to replace or clean the vent in the building department, and they would not be able to make sure that all the air ducts, they would secure all the air filters in the furnace units. And basically, they didn't give us a price on making sure all the air ducts are hooked up. That was Breathe Easy. Advanced Air Care met all of our criteria, and actually, Breathe Easy's price was $3,200. Advanced Air Care, they met all the requirements, and they came up with a price of $24.79. And we had a third price of Michigan Air Duct Cleaning. They met all the requirements, and their price was $2,500. So.
You met with them, Mike?
Oh, I'm sorry, the last company was not going to replace the vent in the building department, to secure the air filters or to do the, make sure that all the air ducts were hooked up. That was Michigan Air Duct Cleaning. They were not going to do that. The other 2 companies were going to do it. So the first company was going to take care of all the services, but they're $3,200. Second company for $24.79, which is Advanced Air Care, was going to take care of all the services. And the third company for $2,500 was not going to take care of all the services. I mean, my best recommendation would be to go with Advanced Air Care. The price is lower than any other ones, and they're going to take care of all 4 items that were requested.
You met with them, so I trust your judgment. I'll second that.
Who was the company, Mike, that had been here previously that had done the fire department? Was it one of the stations a few years ago?
I want to say it, don't quote me, I'm pretty sure it's at Michigan, the Advanced Air Care.
Okay.
I can't say for sure, but I think that he had record of doing the fire department in 2019.
And this company has insurance, it's comp insurance?
I'm sure I could get something from it. It seems like, I think that would be, obviously, yeah, I would make sure that I would get liability insurance policy.
Do they provide references, or they have done work for us in the past?
I don't have any references. I went out and I got 3 bids on it. I met with the people here. They came to the building, they looked around, they gave me a price on them. I didn't ask them for a whole detailed thing on references and everything else. They gave me a quote, they sent a quote, and this is what I got in front of me. I mean, I can get references if need be, and, you know.
I don't think that's.
I think the insurance thing would be the key, though.
Yeah, just the license and insurance, that's all.
Right.
Yeah, if you're confident they can do the job.
Yeah. So you made a motion?
Supported by Frank. There's any more discussion?
I would ask if we could add to the motion the verification of insurance.
We'll do.
You might modify your motion, Mike.
So I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve advanced air care, provided they provide a insurance liability policy. The amount is $24.79. Or by Frank. Any other discussion? Need a roll call, please.
Silver,
Yes.
Giorgio,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Conway,
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
So, is there any communications before we go into closed section? Item 7 hours closed session, which we're going to be in closed session for a while, so we have any communications, maybe now would be the time. Share with the audience.
I just have a quick question. We had any further discussion with Romeo regarding sewer?
So, the Village of Romeo had their meeting on Monday. They said they're going to reinstate their committee, and I talked to Justin Parker out in the hallway, and I said that, would you guys mind if we sat down and got together? And he was receptive to, he said for me to reach out to the new village president, Megan Pozansky, which I will do, and set up a meeting to sit down with them.
Thank you.
So negotiation. Decide that as a board on what to do, or form a committee, or what?
I'd like to have the attorney come in and just weigh in on the contract and where we stand.
Well, he did look at the current, what we did.
But we haven't been included, all of us, in all of this. I would like to have him come in and address us each.
Oh, that's fine. We have,
At some point, I mean, in part of the discussion.
we currently don't have anything for him to weigh in on. That was the problem, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I guess I'm misunderstanding.
We have a current agreement.
Yeah.
We have a current agreement in place. What are you talking about before we make any changes to that agreement? Or anything
Yes.
Going forward?
Yes.
Okay.
So you want to have him comment on the current contract?
Yeah, just give us all a feel for where we stand, where he sees.
I thought that we've had that discussion in the past. Maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't ever remember having Bob come in. I assume it would be Bob and Christine.
Okay. Yep, so that's where we're at on that, Mike.
We'll call a special meeting for that down in the future.
I mean, is that something that would be under closed session? Discussing contracts? I'd ask Bob, because I would prefer it to be closed session if it can be.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. Does anybody have any communications at all?
Yeah, I do. We're having another blood drive on February 2nd, Thursday. Our blood drives have been very successful, very close to, we started out with an estimated 24 participants, and we're now they count on us having at least 52. This last time we had, I think, 45 participants. So each time it gets a little better. So I want to thank all the people, the residents and the community for coming out and donating the blood, because saving a lot of lives by doing that. Taxes, again, you can mail them in, or you can we have a secure drop box in the back that has a camera pointed at it. It's bolted down to the ground very securely. It's not going nowhere, no one tampers with it, and they can drop them off there. We have 3 banks in town that can be easily You can easily pay your tax payments there by either walking in or going through the drive-through. Let's see, what else do I got? I want to thank Dana Genuine for all her dedicated hard work and services over the years. She's announced her retirement, and it's going to be tough seeing her go because she's a wealth of knowledge for us. She has a lot of history, factual, honest information that we've always relied on her for, and we're going to miss her dearly. And what else do I got? I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Okay. I want to thank Ken Melton for all the hard work that he did out front and out back in Fire Station number 2, decorating it. It's all Ken Melton's hard work. He's dedicated all his time, and that's all his lighting, you know. So these trees are Ken Melton's. Tree in the hallways, Ken Melton. So I want to just thank him.
Absolutely.
What a great job he did.
Yep.
I'd like to just make recognition of the fire department. We had a near fatal crash on 37 Mile Road. It happened early morning hours, and I think our fire department did such a great job. I mean, they kept that from being a fatal accident, and I just want my hat goes off to them guys. You know, but did you want?
Yeah, you stole my thunder. I was going to commend them for their efforts. They put themselves in harm's way to jump right into action for our rescue and the incident Mike was talking about. You guys did a heck of a job. I'd like to at least say their names so they can be recognized. Battalion Chief Tom Stankiewicz, Jim LeGree, Mike Alfonsi, Phil Raniak, and Ron Feltz. Those were the members that were on scene initially and they acted. And
Got a hand going up in the back.
Yeah, what happened? Tell us about it.
There was just a car accident, single vehicle car accident on 37 Mile Road, early morning hours. That's pretty much it.
37 and Van Dyke?
37 near Hib, west of Hib, or Wells.
Okay. Other than that, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. Yeah, so, thanks everybody for coming out. Kind of get nervous looking at Brandon sitting back there this whole time. I don't know what's on his agenda.
I got no agenda.
He's just enjoying the
Just
view.
enjoying the meeting.
I have a question.
Sure.
If you're sat in these chairs back here, oh my gosh, they're pretty hard if you're here for a long time. Just saying, I usually am sitting up at the front there because I'm on the board for our sub, and those are great up there, but these are pretty bad.
Which one is she sitting on?
Am I the only person?
Which one are you sitting on? Are you sitting on the gray ones?
She's sitting on.
I'm sitting on this one now. I was
Oh, you
sitting
got-
on those, and these are really bad.
Well, there's plenty of chairs to choose from.
Okay.
You're sitting on a piece of plywood is what you're doing. There's no padding in those chairs.
Just thought I'd say something.
Okay, so
Whatever.
we'll go on, take a 5-minute break and we'll go into closed session.
Yep.
Good night, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Everybody, safe travels.
Stacy, thanks for coming out.
Okay.
Now I got it.
Yeah.